Gooshbagz, welcome in to week 1 of the 2020 Gooshbagz Fantasy Football League. Woo! We made it through COVID. We made it. Football is playing. We're all excited. There's a little bit of normalcy with sports all coming back. You can kind of imagine everything's normal with the fake sounds in the stadium of the crowd, and they don't show the crowd too much, so they're you can't tell that they're not there. So, anyways, the podcast is back after a fantastic week 1. I am your host, the commissioner of the Gooshbagz Fantasy Football League, the reigning champ of the Fantasy Football League, and your future back-to-back champ. I am Jason Peck. This week is going to be off the chain because I've got Andrew Kortze with me today, fresh off of a fantastic week 1 matchup.
So Kortze, clencher. All of Sunday, just butt clenching the whole time because.
Oh yeah, dude.
I like when. Well, okay. So sometimes I like the fact that all of our players are on Sunday. That's the first thing. I always, between like Sunday night and then Monday night, I hate when like one person or the other has a player that's in the Monday night game.
The waiting
exactly.
Sucks.
It's terrible. But then once you get to the Monday night game, it's great because then it's like, okay, now it's even that much better watching Monday Night Football.
Yeah, that's true. I found this week I wasn't really paying attention. Like, it was cool. I kind of watched the Monday night games, but I really didn't have I wasn't invested in either of them this week. So it kind of like, it was good that our matchup was out of the way and nothing was riding on the games, but at the same time, like, I kind of missed a little bit of the intensity. If I was rooting for one or two players or against one or two players.
Exactly. So, yeah. When those weeks come down to the wire, it's gosh, those are the best. But right now, it was kind of nice to have Monday because like we had NBA and NHL and baseball. I mean, like
literally all the sports are playing right now.
Everything right now, it's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it was.
How about those Cubs and Sox doing well this year?
I was going to say, people are talking about like the whole crosstown World Series and everything, and it would be fantastic. Except I think that the White Sox would kick the Cubs.
You bet your boots they would.
At least right now, with unless Hu Darvish finds a way to pitch every single game of the World Series, that's exactly what would happen because.
Tell you what,
lineup can absolutely rake. So
yeah, the White Sox, man, they just copied the Cubs from a few years ago. They built up their farm team, and it actually works. Yeah, I know. The minor league system, actually works, building up some good prospects. So, dude, I'm stoked. Yeah, it's looking good.
Anyway, 2 weeks away.
I know.
It's insane.
It's gonna be great. Anyway, back to football. We, as a Gooshbagz Fantasy Football League, we made some huge steps this year to improving the league. Just making everything better. The biggest rule we added this year is we added keepers. So that was a lot of fun trying to figure out how we wanted to do the keepers, the value of the keepers. Just getting keepers, involved, I think kind of adds a little bit more activity in the off season. And it creates potential for like some pretty beastly lineups too. If you get some good value from last year in late rounds, you can stack up some hot talent at the beginning of the draft. We've got a new playoff format. Unfortunately, we have 6 people going to the playoffs this year instead of 4. That was against my wishes, but it was.
I think I might have voted for that.
It was the majority vote, and it does make the playoffs more exciting. You got more people in it and whatnot. And speaking of getting value in the keeper position, how about me getting Dalvin Cook and then grabbing CEH, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, second pick of the draft? Man, he's looking like a great second pick. I had the choice between him and Kamara, and I already had Dalvin Cook, and I didn't want a second potential semi-fragile player that I'd have to grab a handcuff for. Not that I ended up getting the handcuff for Dalvin Cook, but
Does
yeah,
Adam
dude,
have Madison?
Adam stole Madison from me. The pick before, the one pick, I grabbed him in all of my mock drafts. I grabbed Alexander Madison in the 9th round, and Adam picked him with the first pick of the 9th round, right out
before
from
you,
under
right?
me. Yes,
Because you're the
right
next
out from under
pick.
me. Made me so mad. I was so tilted.
Classic Adam.
So I still have to find a way to get Madison back. But
start the trade talks now, because
I did.
Adam, it's gonna be a few months.
I know. I started like the day after. I was like, Adam, give me Madison now. I need him on my team. I cannot like. And so we started talking, and he was like, initially he was like, I don't really want anybody on your team. I was like, okay, my team is great. But anyways, maybe he'll have another opinion now after his team just absolutely ate it this week. Even though he did get the W, but his team did not score over 100 points, and he had a rough time.
Oh, he had the luck of the matchup this week.
The luck of the matchup.
There's always that one team that
played
puts
against
up
Neil. Neil's back to his old ways.
Okay.
Last in the league, Neil. That's his.
He got Joe Mixon. It's the curse.
It is the curse. Yeah, the auto drafted Joe Mixon.
Oh,
so.
That's right. Right. He's the. Was James on the draft? He was this year.
James was on the draft. James did not auto draft this year.
Okay. Yeah. So Neil. The auto drafter.
Neil's the auto drafter.
Oh man. Oh, that's right. Because I think I was actually looking to get Mixon. Like I knew
the second round if you could.
Like,
yeah,
the first pick of the second round, and I was like, it might be a stretch, but then the auto draft picked him up, and I was like,
I think if he hadn't gotten auto drafted, he might have dropped to you. I don't know if if Benaya would have grabbed him, or Chad probably wouldn't have grabbed him. No, Chad didn't have a first round pick, so it probably would have just been Benaya. I think was the only one, and I don't know if he would have grabbed Joe Mixon.
Yeah, maybe there's. He got Devontae Adams, which was, I think that was probably the right decision there.
Yeah, he was back and forth at the beginning of before he was talking with me about who he wanted to keep, and he was between Derrick Henry and Joe and Kenyon Drake, his first two for his running back, and I was like, Kenyon Drake, you got probably in the 7th or 8th round last year, you got him for super cheap. And he's going to be, I think he's going to be comparable to what Derrick Henry does, especially in a half-point PPR league. I think that his output is going to be comparable to a Derrick Henry. Maybe not quite as good, but now you have a first-round pick to go out and grab, a stud that you compare with Kenyon Drake, and that in itself will be way more value than just Derrick Henry. So I don't know if he's happy about how week 1 went. I don't know if Kenyon Drake had a huge game or not.
After everything he went through with Kenyon Drake last year and his running back situation.
I can't believe that he didn't he was stoked about Kenyon Drake at the end of last year. I cannot believe that he was just not auto locking Kenyon Drake as his keeper.
Just after all of that, just lock it up. And
I don't know.
Said, I mean, he's got he if he's not happy with the way that Rodgers and Adams were hooking up the other.
Right. Dude, I hope we'll talk about this later, but I hope that, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to come out this whole season and just be on one big fuck you tour to the Packers, because he was so pissed about the Jordan Love, draft pick in the first round. And, I just think he's going to come out and just be like, I am the best quarterback in football, period. There's nobody else. There's no reason to be drafting Jordan Love right now because you have the best quarterback for another 10 years. Yeah. So
I wouldn't be surprised if he did that and then they tried to re-sign him and then he's just like, no, screw that. I'm
it's a possibility. I don't know. Or something. Jackson, he's not going to take over Gardner Minshew's job. Gardner Minshew's a close second place in the best quarterback in the league category, but
he's what Baker Mayfield is supposed to be.
Exactly.
I saw that somewhere. I was like, that's
not wrong. And they have a similar mentality too. I feel like Baker coming out of college kind of had a don't give a crap attitude. Yeah. Exactly. And then Gardner kind of has that in the NFL, but
Yep.
I don't know. Anyways, on to news from week 1. We have a few injuries that happened this week. The biggest one potentially being Michael Thomas's. Well, as far as he's probably the best player that got injured this week. He has a high ankle sprain. Originally, they said it didn't look too bad, and then they said it looked pretty bad. Like it looked worse than it was. Now they're saying that he's Michael Thomas. He might come back and play week 2. So who knows what's actually going to happen with Michael Thomas? But he came out with a high ankle sprain, and that could affect his play going forward. If not, then Emmanuel Sanders and Traquan Smith could potentially get some upside plays this week. Something to think about. Somebody has Emmanuel Sanders. I don't know who has Emmanuel Sanders, but
got Hughes with the Saints. That's weird.
Yeah, I feel like he's on the Broncos. Like
yeah,
that's
forever.
just his team. Yeah. So, Marlon Mack. This is actually big for Jonathan Taylor, but Marlon Mack has a torn Achilles, so he is out for the year. He's got to get surgery on that bad boy, and that kind of sucks. But at the same time, it kind of adds clarity to a backfield that we weren't quite sure how it was gonna go forward. We knew Marlon Mack was kind of the head of the potential timeshare, but and we thought that Jonathan Taylor might eventually take it over. However, it's going to happen much sooner than expected. However, Nyheim Hines got a lot of work last week, despite even before Marlon Mack got hurt, he was in there quite a bit. And then after Marlon Mack got hurt, obviously he took on a bigger portion. So we'll see how that backfield plays out. Do you have any insights, Kortze, you think on how that backfield's going to play out? Or
yeah, that's a good question. I saw you grabbed Hines off the waiver wire. I was surprised that he didn't get picked up by.
I know.
A bid.
I was
like, really? So that was a surprise. But
I didn't even bid on him because I thought he was going to go for way more money than I wanted to pay for it anyways.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
And then he was just there afterwards. I was like, I'll grab him for free if you want me to.
Absolutely, because
and he seems like
he'll have a pretty decent floor. Or what's that?
I grabbed him because of Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers always throws to the running back. Look at Austin Eckler. And do you know why Austin Eckler wasn't as good week 1 this year? Because he didn't have Phillip Rivers throwing in the football. So
the Dinkin and Dunker.
Yeah, worst case scenario, I don't think I'm going to start Nyheim Hines this week, but it's definitely worth grabbing him and seeing if Phillip Rivers uses him quite a bit. So
yeah, anytime you can stack running backs that's got a decent floor and a chance for that kind of boom in PPR. I mean, that's
exactly
for free. In this case, so.
Exactly. So the next player that got hurt was Lev Bell. I think he just has a hamstring injury, and the IR is really weird this year. It's like a minimum of 3 weeks. So he's gone for a minimum of 3 weeks from the Jets lineup. I think since COVID, I think the IR, I don't know, the IR spot kind of it used to be like 7 weeks or 8 weeks. I think if you were put on IR, you were basically gone for half the year at least. So this year it's a little more temporary, but for a few weeks at least, Lev Bell's going to be missing. I don't even know who else is in that backfield. I can't even think.
Just thinking the same thing.
Ty Montgomery, I think, is still there.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not sure who else is there. Probably not worth a pickup.
Jets running backs. The legacy that Le'Veon Bell is putting forth in New York is not quite what it was in Pittsburgh. Oh, Frank Gore. That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Frank Gore and Kalen Ballage.
Yeah, that's right. He was just signed. Well, actually, Kalen Ballage he was traded, but then, so I don't know if you saw this. This was the funniest thing ever. Miami was going to drop him, and everybody knew Miami was going to cut him at the end of the preseason. And then, for some reason, the Jets didn't think he would clear waivers or something. They traded for him right before the Jets decided to cut him. And they traded like a 5th round pick for Kalen Ballage. when they could have basically gotten him for free. And then Kalen Ballage failed his physical, which sent him back to the Dolphins. Like, since he failed the physical, he couldn't get onto the Jets. But then they dropped him. The Dolphins dropped him, and then the Jets picked him back up.
How did I didn't know any of this was going on. Wow, that's quite.
Kalen Ballage is not the biggest news story in the NFL, but
true.
So we'll see. I guess Frank Gore is going to be taking on a bigger role in the Jets offense. And then maybe like a Ty Montgomery or Kalen Ballage will do some of the passing work that Lev Bell would have done. I'm not sure. I don't know who's gonna take it over, but
between the Knicks and the Jets and the Mets, oh man,
the Giants.
Yeah. New York's not looking too good.
At least they got the Yankees, but are they even that good this year?
I think they've gone on a hot streak, and they're like the 5th seed now in the AL. So
well, there you go.
They're at least in the playoffs as of right now. But
yeah, the last. We'll see. We'll see how the Yankees turn out. Maybe they'll save the city and state of New York, from misery. I don't know. Anyway, the last injury that I wrote on here that was kind of notable was the James Conner injury, and that shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. James Conner gets hurt in every single game he plays in. He's basically made of glass. He went out early with they were taping up his ankle, and then he never came back in, and now they're saying he's got a sprained ankle or some sort of ankle injury. And even if he is back, like words from the bushes were saying that like Benny Snell might just take the backfield over anyways. Even if Connor is healthy next week. So
it's like it's not worth it at this point.
Yeah, you're scrambling your game plan every week because your starter goes out in the second drive or whatever. But all right, on to the important stuff, the matchups from week 1. So week 1, the Scary Terrys, which is not my team. Last year it was my championship matchup, my championship team, the Scary Terrys. The name was stolen for Kortze for a little bit of bad juju or good juju, whichever side you're on. Yeah. Versus Feast Mode, which is my team. That is going to be right here underneath the Jason-led Scary Terrys for 2020 on the plaque there. Yeah, there it is. It'll be there.
Looks good. Yeah.
It'll be there. And actually,
Scary Terrys. I don't know.
I intentionally made my team not named after a player so that I can have a line of championships down the side with the same fantasy football name every single year.
So you're just gonna keep Feast Mode for
I'm
the
keeping
next
Feast Mode
5
for
years.
years as I keep winning championships, and that's a line of Feast Mode down the side of this trophy.
Okay. Theoretically, that sounds pretty great there, but
that's practically, and it's happening. So unfortunately, Feast Mode is off to a bad start this year.
Ran to a buzzsaw.
I know. Scary Terry's had 133.08 points to the Feast Mode's 119.7. So unfortunately, the reigning champion falls week 1 to a fierce competitor due to a huge week from this crazy guy named Raheem Mostert. So, yeah, the studs on the Scary Terrys. Obviously, like I said, Raheem Mostert, he had 23.1 fantasy points, and the difference of this matchup was only due to a 76-yard touchdown reception from Raheem, who is not a pass-catching back.
Right.
He is a runner, first and second down back. Somehow he got this, broke free for a 76-yard touchdown reception to make up the difference in this game.
And I won because I won the matchup by 14 points exactly, right? Or just about.
Close to it, yeah. Right. Yeah, so I don't know what to make of that, man. You just got lucky.
I was gonna say, like so you know how on like Sundays, if you like wait maybe like till the second quarter to open the fantasy app, which none of us
Yeah.
probably do. But if you do, you can often like just tell like how the week's gonna go by like how your first 5 guys are doing and how your opponent's first 5 guys are doing.
Right.
So when I like opened up the app and like checked the scores, I think so. You already had CEH that had 19 or 20 points
from Thursday.
You had Dalvin Cook had already scored a touchdown. Cam Newton's like running in all of the Patriots touchdowns, and then DJ Chark had just caught a touchdown pass. I'm like, that's all the guys you had going, and I was like, all right, well, chalk this one up to next week. But
I tell you what, it started off hot, and I was super stoked, and then it just kind of like died. It like you said, the first like 2 quarters of the 12 o'clock games, I was like flying high, and then all of a sudden it just all leveled out. You know, right around 100 points. I was like struggling to get more than 100 points. It's
crazy how like both in the short term and long term, it's interesting how like reverting to the mean happens all the time in fantasy. Like, like I mean, you look at quarterbacks who like you'll see guys get 20 points in the first half every week, and I mean because of like just how the game plan works out from there. Like you'll see them get like 3 points in the second half. They'll still end with like 23, 24 points, but I mean, you're thinking like, oh man, I'm gonna get like 40 points from a quarterback, and it's like, no. But I like usually when you think it's gonna go like really bad, then like one of your players will score and put you right back in it. And I didn't really think I had a chance until the Mostert run, and that's I was like, okay, that could play a part. So Well, it was back and forth though.
It was, man. That was quite the battle until like those evening games, and I was like, well, I don't have anybody else playing. Kortze has somebody playing, so I'm basically screwed. Oh no, I guess we had Robert Woods, but I was already down by like a good 20 or so going into that matchup. So
yeah, that's a lot to put on old Robert Woods' back, but he looked good. He looked good.
Without Brandon Cooks in there muddying up the wide receiving core.
Freaking Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, Robert Woods is on there for like 95% of the snaps, and he's getting work. So he might not have those big boom games, but I mean he has the potential to do so. But he's not the biggest red zone target, but he's at least going to get me like a solid like 10 to 15 points every week, which I would be happy with, and then get me a couple of Keenan Allen, DJ Chark, those high flying guys who could put up like 30 on any week,
Robbie Anderson, I saw you just picked up.
Right. Yeah. Which he might have a higher floor than you think this year. He had 10 targets yesterday.
Yeah.
10.
That was.
Or not yesterday,
a little bit
Sunday.
Unnerving if you happen to have DJ Moore in your lineup, which I might have.
Yeah, so. No, I know Neil hates this, but I have DJ Moore in another league, and I was super high on him because like he did great in the second half of last year, and he was going to be the stud for Teddy Bridgewater, and then all of a sudden he comes out and like he's splitting the targets evenly with Robert Woods, with Robbie Anderson, and you're just like, oh no, what's going on?
Yeah. I guess he had some decent games with the Jets last year, but because it was the Jets, he was like never at all consistent. So
you know who it is?
Maybe he'll find that.
It's Adam Gase, the Jets head coach. He's literally all right. Look at Ryan Fitzpatrick, 1, Kenyon Drake, 2, Devontae Parker, 3, Robbie Anderson, 4. Who do all these guys have in common? Adam Gase. And as soon as Adam Gase left, or when Kenyon Drake left Miami, Kenyon Drake went ham. Ryan Fitzpatrick went nuts. Robbie Anderson and who was for Devontae Parker, they all went crazy because Adam Gase is no longer there. And what happened? Lev Bell, arguably the best running back in the league, goes under Adam Gase, and look what happened last year. Garbage. Yeah. That's right. That's Adam Gase in a nutshell.
Adam Gase is the Jay Cutler whisperer. Come on, man. Like what? It's sorry, never.
That speaks for itself. Speaks for itself. The only thing that Adam Gase did smartly or right was work with Peyton Manning in his younger years. Peyton Manning was like his breakout. He was the quarterback whisperer. Like, Oh, Ryan Tannehill too. Ryan Tannehill.
That's right.
One ham after sorry. He was anyway, yeah, Adam Gase is supposedly the quarterback whisperer, but like, because of Peyton Manning was the reason. But, Peyton Manning was just good. So he didn't need Adam Gase to tell him what to do.
Left out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Wow.
But anyways, enough of the Adam Gase tangent.
That's what everyone wanted to hear when they tuned in.
I know.
Adam Gase.
I'm trying to keep this short and succint, and then I get off on these tangents.
It's good. It's good content. That's right.
Yeah. Anyways, back to your team. Your studs did not stop with the fantastic Raheem Mostert. You also had
the Patriots defense.
Yes.
I didn't think I had a chance when I made that decision, but I think they scored like 12 this week or whatever.
Yeah, they actually did pretty good. But they also played Miami, so
yeah,
I don't know. And Miami's wide receiver core is just like trash this year. So they're just all hurt, I think, is a problem. So and Devontae Parker is now hurt.
That's right.
So
I was gonna say, like, talking about referring to the mean, I shouldn't mention that in terms of the Patriots, because last season they did not throughout the whole season revert to the mean.
Not at all.
Until the championship win.
The thing is, though, you got to look at their division. They're playing the Jets. They're playing Miami, and who's the third? The Bills, who had a bad offense last year. Like, all three of them had terrible offenses. So, like,
it's been that way for a decade at least.
Right. So, like, maybe New England's defense really isn't that good, but they play 6 of their games against awful teams,
Yeah, I'd have to agree with
that. Anyways, so speaking of the Bills, you had Josh Allen starting to counteract my Cam Newton rushing ability. You put in Josh Allen and he ended up with 28.18 fantasy points, so he had a great day. And then, as always, you have CMC locked into your lineup every single week with 100% of the snaps, 100% of the running back work for the Panthers. He had 26.9 fantasy points, so that's not even a surprise. As far as the duds go on your team, I guess Michael Gallup, he had 6.4, but, like, that's still not awful. That doesn't kill your week. You still got some points, so... Yeah. If that's the most you have to complain about this week, then I guess you had a pretty good week. So
yeah, across the board, both of us were. No one really had terror. Maybe Keenan Allen was a little bit down, but still, like, for the most part, workable.
Yeah, Keenan Allen had only 5.7 points, so that wasn't really too bad either. I was hoping for a little more from the number one wide receiver in the LA, but
I think Kittle would have had. I think he was going to go for 20 plus if he hadn't got banged up on that.
Yeah, his knee.
Buffalo that just left him out to dry.
Yeah, so. I guess I should have added that to the injury report. Kittle's got a banged up knee, but he played through like a sprained knee all last year too. So
yeah, that's true.
So we'll see if he. Yeah, I might have to pick myself up one of these scraps of a tight end here on the waiver wire, but.
I've got 3. You can trade me for one of my 3 tight ends.
How much would you value Dallas Goedert at after you paid $33 on the waiver wire for him? What would you trade him for? Like James Robinson off my bench, or?
I'd say I put way too much stock in like where I drafted someone or how much I paid for them off the waiver wire.
Right.
I'm like, well, if I invested that much in them, then
you
I have to
them. Or sell them for a lot.
Yeah. Like OBJ might be absolute trash this year, but I'm like, well, I grabbed him in the 3rd round, so
right. I gotta hold on to him. Yeah. I figured. Speaking of James Robinson, I figured that he would have the most value if I were to trade him to you or Chad. As we are,
true.
And maybe Benaya as well LHS. As LHS truthers out there. But tell you what, man, did you watch any of his plays on Sunday? Like, did you look up the highlights for? Yeah, dude, he looked good.
Yeah, I saw him just hurdle that one.
That was insane.
That play. That was pretty nasty.
Yeah. He had like 90 yards, and he got literally every single rush for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like no other player
okay.
rushed the ball. Yeah.
Wow. So bell cow right out
Bell
of the bat.
cow back.
Right out
Yeah.
of the game. I never saw him like run at Lutheran or Illinois State. But yeah, like I saw him there. Like, yeah, he looks like a professional running back. So
yeah, no, he looked damn good. So
it's impressive.
Yeah, I grabbed him, stashed him on my bench there for when he breaks fully out. Yes, exactly. If at the beginning when I grabbed him, it was before. Oh no, it was after the Leonard Fournette news, but it was before like Ozigbo went on the IR. It was before Raquel Armstead went on the IR. So it was like I grabbed him and I was like, okay, maybe he's a lottery ticket or worst case scenario, he's a good luck charm that I'm just gonna keep on my bench, repping LHS. But
and days later, it's like I saw
he's
that
the
like
starter.
I was like, what? I thought you knew. Somehow you had some like insider information on that.
No, I grabbed him as a good luck charm. I was like, I got to rep Luther, and I grabbed him in every single draft that I could because I was just like, I want to get James Robinson on my fantasy team. So
that's good. You deserve him to start. That's
exactly. So speaking of the stud starters, I had my first round pick, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, go for 19.8 fantasy points. He had a fantastic day. And he
had more.
I know.
If, those goal line carries.
I know. Well, yeah, so he looked he's a small back. And he kind of bounced off of the offensive line. But the offensive line did not create any holes for him on the goal line. So like it wasn't entirely his fault.
It rarely is like in that case when you literally have 12 guys in the box on the defensive side. Yeah. It's like, what are you supposed to do at that point?
I was just hoping that the Walrus would call a play that would not go right up the middle, right off of the center. Like try something like you got a quick back. Like why not try a quick sweep or like something that's not right down the middle where all the 350-pound men are just blocking the way.
It's the ego call from the coordinator. Like every time they're like, "Oh yeah, we're just gonna run it up the middle and score."
There were like four runs on the 1 yard line in a row and didn't get in, but
right.
Oh well.
I mean, the fact he got those carries, though, that puts.
Yeah, he was basically getting all of the carries. Darrell Henderson was in on like some of the third down plays, but I was kind of surprised that Clyde Edwards-Helaire got all of the rushing work. So I was pleasantly surprised. Yes,
that's good stuff.
So I also had Dalvin Cook, my keeper from last year, third round keeper. Second round keeper actually, second round keeper. I got him in the third round last year, but he had 21.3 fantasy points. He's great as always. And then the return of Cam Newton, 25.7 fantasy points. He had 2 rushing touchdowns. He didn't throw much, but that's just not what Cam Newton does. Cam Newton runs the ball, and he runs it in for touchdowns. So he's a gamer. Exactly. He's basically a running back at the quarterback position. Before Lamar Jackson, he's like not the OG. Mike Vick is the OG, but Cam Newton is the second coming of Mike Vick, essentially. So, and as for the duds, just Keenan Allen. But I mean, my team, I'm not mad that my team lost. They had a pretty decent day, just not as good of a day as yours and a few others. Actually, it was a pretty high scoring week this week. So,
we got like Chris Godwin being like a 5th round keeper or whatever,
right?
Have some stacked
you're guaranteed.
Teams, so
I guess that's kind of the problem with that is we're gonna have stacked teams and then like awful teams. Like that's how this year's gonna go.
Who's gonna be the awful team this year? Everyone in the other division.
Neil.
Is Neil in our division? I can't remember.
I don't know.
Make a trade.
Yeah.
Get
I don't even know the divisions. They were randomized and then I forgot about them.
I mean, they don't make a huge difference. I guess
they really don't. You play them you might play them once more.
Yeah.
So we got he is in our division.
Oh, he is. Okay.
Yeah. Right. But anyway, matchup number 2 was Go Team Tommy, which is James's team, versus the Running Mayfields, which is Brandon's team. And Brandon's team, let me tell you, that draft. He was so stoked about that draft, and to be honest, I don't know why. He loved his team. He came on afterwards. He wasn't on the chat with us most of the time. He was busy doing stuff with his family, but came on afterwards and he was so stoked. He was like, "Hey, guys, thank you so much for just letting all these players drop into my lap." And I looked at his lineup. I was like, "You're welcome," because
Oh, the confidence. I love it.
You're welcome because I don't like your players. I don't like your team. But I mean, he did have Russell Wilson. Anyways, let me get into it here.
Yeah.
Go team. This is my fault. I got off on another tangent. Go team Tommy. James's team won 122.64 points to Running Mayfield's 88.08 points. Somehow, the Running Mayfields managed to lose versus a surprisingly good, normally auto-picked fantasy football team. James, maybe this is life telling you not to auto-pick anymore because you have a fantastic team. So, the studs on Go Team Tommy. I love that name, by the way. That's like great. It's fantastic. But
James is going all out this year. This is
all out.
Yeah,
this is fantastic. I like this James. James is a competitive James. You know what? James always picks up like those sleeper waiver wire picks that go off the next week. Like you don't even
know
see
that
it
he's
happening.
paying attention. He's seen those guys. And he's like,
yeah, like he'll pick up
the radar.
Yeah, he'll pick up like last year. Like he'll pick up like a Nyheim Hines. Like before week 17 when he had 2 punt return touchdowns when beforehand he barely broke 10 fantasy points. But he'd pick him up for 1 week and the dude would go off for like 3 touchdowns out of nowhere.
Yep.
But
he's got that touch.
Anyway, Go Team Tommy had Mahomes leading the charge at 20.844 fantasy points. Although, actually, I don't know if he was really leading the charge. He had Adam Thielen in there in his lineup at 28 flat. 28 fantasy points. Without Stephon Diggs, he is definitely that unquestioned number 1 in Minnesota this year. So
yeah, he was even before. I mean, not that it was a huge difference between target share between him and Diggs, but
yeah,
I mean, you could just tell that
he was the number 1. Yeah.
Yeah, like he was and was going to be, and just with Diggs not in the picture anymore, that was a good pick.
Yeah.
I somehow thought, oh, maybe he could fall in round 3 or whatever, but
right.
That was a good pickup to get him early because
as
long as he's healthy, then he's
gonna be a beast. Yeah, and I couldn't really find like a bad. Like he had pretty good games across the board here. Let's take a look. I pulled all these up. Yeah, I mean last week you had T.Y. Hilton at 7, Devin Singletary at 7.8. Like that was the worst. And getting 7 points from a couple of guys is not going to kill your week. So, so that that's fantastic. So, a very consistent team. So that's great. The Running Mayfields, on the other hand, had a bunch of not awful games, but just a bunch of mediocre performances from his team this week, except for Russell Wilson, who finally got to cook. He threw for so many passes. I think that's the most passes he's ever thrown in a football game. Like he just went off, and like maybe they're finally letting him just be Russell Wilson, because normally he would be efficient on like 20-25 pass attempts. Mm-hmm. But I think finally he got, I don't know how many pass attempts he had, but it was something insane. Like they did not run the ball at all, and they are normally a running team, but they just they had a total of like 10 or 12 rushes in the game.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Chris Carson was mostly utilized catching the ball out of the backfield, correct? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I mean,
he had 6 catches for 2 touchdowns. I think he had 2 receiving touchdowns.
Okay. Yeah.
And he also just only had 6 carries for 20-something yards or something.
Right. Yeah, you see a team matchup against. I mean, anytime I see the Falcons on my schedule, either for a player that I have, or if I'm if I have a player that's going against them, I love those weeks because you just know there's going to be tons of points scored.
Yeah, they have a terrible defense and a great offense. Yeah,
exactly. So
which makes for high fantasy points all around.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, so he got to finally like just cook, which is great.
Too.
So, Mr. Unlimited. Did you see those? He had like a tweet. He did like a tweet where it was a few weeks back. It was before the season started, but like everybody was freaking out about like he made these weird videos where he was talking about how like he didn't. It was like memey. It was pretty meme like. And he was like Mr. Unlimited, like it was something crazy. I don't know. It was.
Sometimes athletes need to have a little bit less of a social media platform to get
That's
out.
true. That's true. But
I wouldn't mind. He's a good dude.
Like, yeah, he is a good dude. But he definitely followed it up with a huge game.
Yeah,
so. All right, on to matchup number 3. We have Zerline. I never hit you. You're telling me apart.
Man, when I saw the Zerline, he drafted him in the 15th round. I was like,
yes.
Zerline never hit you's back.
keeping the name.
I think it took him like 2 seconds to hit the draft button when it got to him.
It was immediate. Yeah,
that was fantastic.
And then he played against Big Ben's bathroom, which is Chad. And Zerline, I never hit you, won 144.26, high scoring, to 82.24, which I think was one of the lowest of the week. So, man, this was a huge disparity. And Zerline, I never hit you, rode that fantastic Rodgers-Adams stack to greatness. And he won that week 1. Fantastic week 1 over a sickly-looking Saquon Barkley having a rough time against that Pittsburgh defense and the rest of Big Ben's bathroom. Oh, that's funny. I didn't even put that together. Saquon Barkley played against Pittsburgh this week, and he had a very rough time. Maybe naming your team Big Ben's bathroom isn't the best thing to do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, good point.
Maybe it's bad luck for that Barkley.
How did he even get 9 points or almost 10 points? He had 6 yards on the ground, and somehow he still got almost 10 points. So.
I think he got a little bit of work in the passing game. Yeah, but it was bad.
Shut down, man.
Let's put it this way: Big Ben had more rushing yards on the night than Saquon Barkley
did. Yeah, that's when you know that you just gotta chalk it up and hope for better next week.
Even a young Big Ben, that would be a crazy stat. But this is like old man Big Ben, who does not move
like
out of the
300
pocket,
pounds. He's got who knows how many surgeries and
exactly. So Zerline, I never hit you studs this week, man. Like I said, that Rodgers-Adams stack. Rodgers came out on his fuck you tour against the Packers, and he just manhandled those Vikings. 30.76 fantasy points. I think he's just, like I told you guys in the chat, he's going to have an MVP level season, and he is going to lead these Packers to another Super Bowl ring. The first one, 10 years later. It's the 10-year reunion tour. 10 years ago.
Steelers.
Let's say beat the Steelers. Yeah. Wow. So with Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, of course, if Aaron Rodgers has a big game, Devontae Adams has to have a big game. And he had 34.6 fantasy points. So that was a good pairing for a fantastic week.
Yeah. 65 points, which was about 80% of Big Ben's bathroom.
Yeah, exactly.
Score there,
yeah.
So.
They almost beat him just single-handedly. And then on top of that, if you add in Julio Jones, that's all the points of Big Ben's bathroom. 20.2 fantasy points from Julio Jones. Another game. This is classic Julio Jones. Massive yardage with 0 touchdowns. That's how Julio rolls. He doesn't do touchdowns. He just does yardage.
Leave the touchdowns to Ridley and Devonta Freeman back when he was that. Yeah.
Exactly. So that was a great game from Julio. His duds, Lev Bell only had 5.6 points, and partially that was due to the injury. He left a little bit early due to injury, but I don't know. He's going to have to find somebody else other than Lev Bell to be his running back too, I think. But
yeah, say he's got Jordan Howard, Chase Edmonds. He could just start the two Cardinals backs.
Maybe I'll try to
Drake and Edmonds.
Maybe I'll try to offer him James Robinson here.
There you go.
See if he wants. I guess he's got David. He's got David Montgomery.
Okay. Yep.
possibility.
Trust a Bears offensive player right now.
Yeah, I don't know. Even Allen Robinson might be leaving the Bears. Who knows?
Yeah.
No, I think they're all good. He's just being public because he was, squeaky wheel and all. Yeah.
He's just dancing the wide receiver hands like
exactly.
They all do that.
Yeah. So on to Big Ben's bathroom. They had no big games this week. Like I said, it was all pretty mediocre from the whole team. His duds, specifically Evan Ingram, he had 1.5 fantasy points. He only caught 2 of his 7 targets. So we'll see if he bounces back next week. He did get 7 targets, which is good. But he only caught 2 of them. I don't know if any of them were drops or if a lot of them were uncatchable or what. But we'll see how if Evan Ingram can come back. But not really much to talk about in Big Ben's Bathroom's team. I don't know. Yeah, he doesn't quite have the repeat performance in his repertoire this year. He had a pretty good year last year, so we'll see.
True. His first year, he might be in line for a sophomore slump here.
I think so.
Came out of the gate last year, so.
I think so. Chad, your team sucks. Anyway, on to matchup number 4, the Breeze Knees. I like this name. The Breeze Knees, Adam, versus Mix and Mac, the auto pick galore. The Breeze Knees eked out the victory, 97.8 to 86.1. This was a low-scoring affair. This was mainly due to a poor performance by everyone on Mix and Mac, except for Lamar Jackson, of course.
That's right.
Except for him. So the Breeze Knees had his fantastic week on the back of Zeke, who had 26.2 fantasy points. What else is new? Zeke is being Zeke. He got paid he got paid last offseason. No, was it? Yeah.
It was the last 2.
Yeah, he had his big holdout, but he's obviously a massive part of this offense. He did have a couple of duds this week, and this is why it was a low-scoring week. He had Michael Thomas with 3.2 fantasy points, who got hurt relatively early on in the game, I think, and then Mark Ingram only had 2.9 fantasy points, but he played the whole game. He had a couple of touchdowns stolen by J.K. Dobbins. So people are talking J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins. People are talking about him. We'll see if he steps up his game and kind of takes over that Baltimore Ravens running role. But
all I know is this: if you would have told me before the draft that in week 1 I'd be starting Jack Doyle at tight end and he'd be outscoring Michael Thomas, I'd be like, this is the year. I'm back. But
right.
He just scored 3 points.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're thinking Jack Doyle outscoring Michael Thomas. He's got to be scoring like 30 points.
Oh, yeah, exactly. The old man, Rivers, just chucking it up to him.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to lean on somebody, within 10 yards of him. So. Fantastic. Well, speaking of the Ravens, Lamar Jackson on Mix and Mac, he ended up with 27.5 fantasy points. That's just Lamar being Lamar. He's going to be a beast this whole year. Not much else to say on him. For the duds category, James Conner, Man of Glass, only got 2.7 fantasy points. And then Joe Mixon, the team's moniker, came from this very valuable player, only got 5.6. Yeah, exactly. Only got 5.6 fantasy points, so not a fantastic week for him. Now, on the flip side of that terrible low-scoring matchup, there was this matchup number 5, which is my tight end hurts when I furts versus good juju. Not bad juju, good juju.
That's right. That's right.
Man, this was a shootout. Good juju came out on top of this high-flying affair with 148.2 points versus the 131.92 points from my tight end hurts when I fart.
Wait.
Despite...
Okay, yeah, go ahead. I think I just noticed what you're just going to point out, so go ahead.
Yeah. So despite this massive handicap from the Minnesota Vikings defense, Minnesota Vikings defense had -9 points against the Packers this week, and somehow Ryo was the highest scoring player of the week. Congratulations, by the way. I didn't mention that at the top of the show. Congratulations for being the highest scoring player this week, Ryo. I gave you your $10 already, but he was the highest scoring player despite having -9 from his defense. That's like a 15-point swing at least. That he could have been up in the 160s if his defense had just been average.
Points.
Yeah. So that was crazy. Basically, his whole team was studs. He had Josh Jacobs with 33.6 fantasy points. He had Alvin Kamara with 21.2 fantasy points. Kyler Murray, 26.3. DeAndre Hopkins, all these guys over 20 points. DeAndre Hopkins, Juju, Mark Andrews. Obviously, you can see why he had a massive week. And then he had one massive number 2 deuce stinker of this week, and it was the Minnesota's defense with -9. So
his kicker had 1 point.
Yeah,
between the kicker and defense, -8.
-8. Yeah, he just has studs all around. I don't know how he got this good of a team.
I was looking at that too. I was like, wait a second. Wow, Rio's absolutely
bonkers.
Stacked. So
yeah. Maybe I shouldn't have kept the 2 guys I kept and tried to grab a couple of these guys in the first couple. But I don't know, man.
I mean, the Steelers are playing the Giants, so I mean that's gonna.
That's true. So they don't have that
lined up pretty well.
Yeah.
And the Saints are playing the Bucs, so I mean that's some good matchups. But I mean, who would have foreseen the Cardinals popping off against the 49ers like that, and seeing Kyler Murray and Nuke just lighting it up. So
yeah, and actually, who's that stud safety or Richard Sherman? He got hurt. Now he's hurt, so he's out for this week as well. So like that 49ers defense, that's he's on 49ers now. That 49ers defense is not as terrifying as it was last year yet. So, but yeah, he good Juju had a fantastic week this week due to good Juju from Juju. So, for my tight end Ertz when I fart, he had a couple of great games this week too. He had Calvin Ridley with his huge breakout. Calvin Ridley's like, hey, I'm here. I'm the next Julio Jones, except I score touchdowns.
Yep.
He had all 3. It was really cool. He had 29.4 fantasy points, by the way. All 3 of the Falcons wide receivers had 12 targets with 9 catches and over 100 yards. All 3 of them.
Who's your third?
Russell Gage.
Okay. Yeah. I wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, no, he did pretty good. Like he had a couple of good games at the end of last year, and now he's got a little bit this year as well. I mean, obviously he had over 100 yards and he didn't score a touchdown, but yeah, I mean,
period of waiting for Mohamed Sanu to break out as a Falcon is finally over.
Right, it's done. Yeah, now Russell Gage is breaking out. Okay. But my tight end Ertz when I fart also had a dud in Brandon Cooks. He was hurt before, like going into this game, so I think he was mainly used as a decoy. He had a couple of catches early and then wasn't used the rest of the game. So now onward. That wraps up all of the matchups for this week. Onward to the waiver wire team that could kick all of our butts. All of us. Once again, they are 1-0 this week. But let us see how this team played out. So number 1, the QB of this team is a surprise. Mitch Trubisky came out somehow.
I knew that
he had
happen.
A good fourth quarter, because his first 3 were just atrocious. But he had enough in the fourth quarter to get him into this coveted waiver wire team with 24.28 fantasy points. And how about that finish in against Detroit this week, huh?
It was. I mean, even more Lions than the Calvin Johnson game. Back when he caught the touchdown to win it, and then he set the ball down, and they called it an incomplete pass.
Right.
This was. I mean, that might have been a little bit worse, but in this case, man, Swift was as open. I mean, yeah, that hurt me a bit to watch. Even as a Bears fan, just like, oh, you gotta feel for him.
A rookie in his first game, missing the game winning. Yeah, that sucks.
Especially when I have him on my team, I'm like, oh man.
That too, right?
Though I did start him, so I was very torn because you want to see your players do well, but you also don't want to see him pop off on the bench. So it's like
right. But at the same time,
feelings,
like especially week 1, like getting that validation that who you have on the bench is good. Like
True.
that's also good. So like if he had that opportunity, I mean he did have that opportunity. If he had converted it, you'd have another what 7.5, 8 points on DeAndre Swift's score. So
yeah, right.
Like that's not a bad game, but I don't know if I want to touch much of the Detroit's rushing.
Yeah, at least not right now. He's definitely a stash and just
3-headed back right now,
or 3-headed or something.
Yeah,
exactly.
But anyway, running back 1 on this amazing waiver wire team was Nyheim Hines, who is now on feast mode. He has 23.3 fantasy points this week on the back of 2 touchdowns, so that was fantastic. Peyton Barber stole a couple touchdowns too from Antonio Gibson, who is on my team. I'm very mad about that. He ended up with 14.9 fantasy points because he had 29 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. So that's all of his fantasy football output this week.
Still made it onto the coveted list.
Oh, yeah. Wide receiver 1 this week, Robbie Anderson with 22.5 fantasy points.
Also
Exactly. Also, on this waiver wire team, wide receiver 2, Sammy Watkins is the week 1 wonder. Last year, he came out with his massive week in week 1 and then didn't do squat the rest of the year. So we will see if he does something the rest of this year. He had 18 fantasy points. Dallas Goedert, who is now on your fantasy team, Kortze.
That's right.
20.1 fantasy points. Yeah, he doesn't have any budget left. He spent all of his money on Dallas Goedert. In the flex position, we have Marquez Valdez-Scantling from the Packers. He had 17.6 fantasy points. That was a great week. We have the Saints D in the defensive slot with 17 points. I am very surprised that they were on waivers. I grabbed them.
Yeah.
I grabbed them as well. So, Yep. I think they're playing against the Raiders this week, so I think that's a decent matchup. And then at the kicker position, there were actually like 5 or 6 that had 12 fantasy points this week. So Mason Crosby.
You picked the Packers. Okay.
Of course I did. So this would have totaled to 169.68 fantasy points, and they are 1-0 this year because they beat all of us. So there you go. Now on to our last section of this podcast. We have the matchup predictions. Kortze, are you ready to predict next week's matchups?
I actually went through the list, and
did you?
Before I looked at your predictions, I wrote down some notes on what I think could happen. So
great.
We'll see if we align on that.
That's awesome. All right, so we have matchup number 1 is Feast Mode versus Mix and Mac. Now, Kortze, I mean, actually, you have all of my predictions in front of you, but I'm going to ask you first. Who do you think is going to win this matchup?
All right, so let me just find okay, so this is you and Neil.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, so I picked you because I didn't really get past the running backs, and I was just like, that's pretty much all you need to really see there. Cam Newton, I think, will regress a little bit. I mean, just
yeah. Probably.
But I mean, he's going to have a good floor no matter what, just because he runs the ball. So I mean, I think he'll be fine there. But yeah, I mean, when you got Dalvin Cook and Clyde Edwards-Helaire leading the charge against James Conner and Joe Mixon, then I would have to give the nod to you on this one. So
I will agree with you. I also have me. I think I literally said the same thing. Riding the back of my 2 stud running backs to victory this week. I might have to. I've been doing a little shuffling in the wide receiver position, and we'll see. I'll probably keep Cam Newton going forward because, like you said, he's got that rushing floor for sure. So, I think I've got. Even though I'm actually projected to lose, I think I've got this one in the bag this week. All right, it should be. On to matchup number 2, the Breeze Knees versus Zerline Never Hits You. So who do you have between Adam and Benaiah this week?
Okay, so interesting that this one came up next because I actually looked at the wide receivers when I initially was looking at their lineups this time.
Mhm.
I don't know why, but I just I went there first, and I see Julio Jones and Devontae Adams against a Cleveland Brown, and okay, so Tyler Lockett, all right. But I mean, against the Patriots D, which we'll kind of see what if they're just feasting on a terrible division or
Right.
if they're for real or not. But
Yeah.
still, just with that kind of a gap between the two teams, I definitely start leaning towards Benaya. I think everything else is going to turn out to be a bit of a wash. Obviously, Adams got the upper hand with Zeke, but I mean, he had some dud games last year. I mean, dud in
Yeah.
his
No,
case,
he had
like around 10.
Yeah.
10, 11. So, but I mean, it could happen.
Mm-hmm.
I will say I liked the Malcolm Brown pickup. That was good from Adam, but.
Yeah, Malcolm Brown is a great pickup. He Zeke, like you said, Zeke, he was like consistent last year. Like you said, he had a floor of about like 11 or 12 points, which wouldn't kill you. Obviously you're looking for more from Zeke, but at least your running back one has a floor that's pretty high. I also picked Benaya's team. Zerline, I'll never hit you, because I think Michael Thomas has a pretty strong chance of missing this week's games, and then also even if he is in, I don't think he's going to be very effective. So I think without those wide receivers, Bree's knees will flounder and lose to Zerline, I never hit you. So
I think if Jared Cook will probably come back down to earth a bit, and Higbee will probably have a better outing there. But Benaya's got a good week to match up against him with Michael Thomas out. So
that's true. Yeah, sometimes it's more about being lucky. So
that's right.
All right.
Last year in the championship.
Exactly. Oh, is that what you think? Actually, that's 100% true, because I only won because of Nyheim Hines' 2-punt return touchdowns. So
I forgot about that.
Yep. Anyways, now he's back on my team. I should have drafted him. I don't know what I was thinking, but he's back on my team for if I win again this year because Nyheim Hines breaks out because Marlon Mack isn't there anymore, I might have to buy a Nyheim Hines jersey or something. So
at least give or somehow incorporate him into the feast mode name. Maybe.
Exactly. No, yeah, I might have to have a hint. Yeah, you know what? I'll keep feast mode, but I'll have to throw in a name of a player a little bit, just to so I can designate the different years. This is the year that I had this player. That was great for me. But
after you win the next three championships.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll be able to determine which one I had. What players. So.
Sounds phenomenal.
Of course. On to matchup number 3. We have the running Mayfields versus my tight end Ertz when I fart. So this is Brandon versus Aaron. So who do you have winning this matchup, Kortze?
All right. So I had, let's see. I had my tight end Ertz when I fart.
Okay.
I picked him. So it looks like, I can't remember the name of that other back in LA with Eckler.
Joshua Kelly.
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So it looked like Eckler might not have quite the workload that he saw last year. I mean, you pointed out that Phillip Rivers is, the master of dunking it down to the running backs, and a little different story this year. Is it Tyrod Taylor? Is that the Chargers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah, even more. Okay. All right, and then there's also a Cleveland Brown I see on his.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Nick Chubb actually. Well, no, he actually had less work. He had essentially the same amount of carries and less catches than Kareem Hunt, and Kareem Hunt was more efficient last week. So that's a little bit of a question mark from Nick Chubb.
Don't get me wrong, I'd love to have him in my lineup, but just the fact that the Browns. I'm thinking the same way about Odell in my lineup right now. It's the fact that it's a Brown. And it's just
they are playing the Bengals this week, so there's that. But yeah, no, actually, I had the running Mayfields in here to win, but actually double checking those running backs, I think I have to agree with you. Although I was saying that like Chris Carson is not getting. So Chris Carson was in Aaron's team. Chris Carson is not getting the workload or he didn't week 1 get the workload that he got last year. Last year he was getting 15 to 20 carries plus 5 catches a week.
True.
I don't think he's going to get that this year. So we'll see. And like you said, they're against New England this week. So we'll see, how they do. But
and also see this is probably the toughest one.
He's got Brandon Cooks in his lineup too.
Yeah, I would say that this one's probably the toughest to call for me. I did see that. I don't know if he's going to put Jamison Crowder in there. I know he popped up last week, but it's more of a wild card. But
right.
I
think actually I'm going to stick with the running Mayfields, even though he doesn't have great running backs. He's got some good wide receivers and Russell Wilson at the helm. So
it's true. Yep.
And he doesn't have Brandon Cooks in his lineup. So I'm going to stick with my gut here and go with the running Mayfields. Good. So on to the next matchup number 4, which is your matchup next week. It's the Scary Terrys versus Go Team Tommy.
Yes.
So Kortze, I don't think I know who you're going to pick this matchup. So go ahead and tell me.
I'm actually going to pick Big Ben's Bathroom because that's the next name that's coming up for my team because I just picked Ben Roethlisberger off the waiver wire. So keep going with that good juju. Not good juju as in real, but I might just switch
team name every week.
I don't know, probably just the first 2. If I'm inspired like that, then I'll roll with it. But we'll see. But yeah, I'm gonna go with my team. I think that I'm praying that Miles Sanders does not pull a James Conner on me and just be banged up the whole year. That pick sucked. I hated having to pick between Miles Sanders and
high. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was really hoping that like I mentioned, Mixon or Devontae Adams would fall to that first pick in the second round. But I was like, okay, so since running backs are scarce, I might as well, just grab him and pray. But,
that's what I found out. I was doing so many mock drafts this offseason, and anytime I grabbed a wide receiver in the first 2 rounds, I was very unhappy with how my team turned out because, like you said, after those first probably 12 running backs off the board, I was not happy with anybody after that. So
there's just nothing like rounds 4 and on. There's just no running backs at all.
Yeah, it was really crazy. And when normally you can find like last year you can find like a Chris Carson in round 4 or 5, or you don't have a lot of those. You had David Johnson could be that this year. David Johnson had a great week this week, and he might going forward, but. But a lot of them were just kind of those old busted running backs like Todd Gurley, David Johnson, them in the fourth or 5th round. So.
Yep. Yeah, and with having the keepers too, that definitely it pushed all the best players up even further.
Right.
So many great players were
already off the board.
5 to 8. So that played a part as well.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, sorry, we'll go back to your matchup here.
Okay.
So you're taking you.
I think
and hoping that Miles Sanders stays healthy or gets back healthy.
Exactly. I'm rolling with my other keeper most likely. I'm going to put Gallup back out there against the Falcons and hope
that's a good call.
Shootout.
Yeah.
I'm worried about Mahomes and Thielen, but there's never a good time to go against those guys. So
right.
I'll do it now and see what happens.
There you go. All right, I also have you winning the matchup due to, like I said, you have some fantastic matchups. Like you said, the Cowboys are playing the Falcons this week, so you got Gallup. I think there were some others. I don't have it pulled up in front of me right now, but
you got the 49ers against the Jets.
Yeah, 49ers against the Jets. Christian McCaffrey against anybody is good. Josh Allen against Miami. You got some great matchups. So that's why I'm definitely leaning your way this week.
So we only disagreed on one, I think. So.
Well, we got one more here.
Oh, there's one more. Oh. Okay.
Yes, one more. With Big Ben's bathroom versus Good Juju.
Okay.
Which is Chad's team versus Ryo's team.
My notes here say Juju - absolutely loaded. And so I think I gotta go with Rayo here because, man, he's stacked.
I really think, like you said, he's got a stacked team, and I really think he's gonna win. And I put a joke in here on the thing here because Ryo and I have our fuck you, Ryo, like you're gonna lose just this week. But like I really think your team is just gonna wreck Big Ben's bathroom this week. So. I'm gonna stick with Ryo. Good Juju. Even though I wrote differently, but I don't have the balls to do that because I think that this is basically a lock and loaded Good Juju game.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I guess if Dak goes for like 30 plus, like against the Falcons, I could see him keeping him in there, and I would have to imagine that Saquon would come back.
Yeah, for sure.
Or rather, revert.
But I don't know if he can keep up with Ryo's lineup.
Yeah, so that's
Kamara and Josh Jacobs. Yeah, Kamara and Josh Jacobs might be a better 1-2 punch at running back position than mine. Like, these are fantastic.
With Kamara on his new contract, and it looks like they're just gonna make him the bell cow from here on out.
Yeah, as long as both of them stay healthy, hopefully, they're gonna be fantastic. So
we'll see. ESPN thinks it'll be a close game.
I know. We'll see how it goes. Well, any parting comments, Kortze? That's all we got. Man, that's the end of the show.
Yeah, gosh.
Week 1. You're the week 1 guest star. Yes. Kicking it off.
I'm honored to be on your show as always. It's always a great time. I could talk to you about this stuff for hours, but
that's the problem. This was supposed to be like a half hour course, and it's been an hour. So
I told Megan, I was like, don't worry. We'll eat dinner after I'm done. It'll be like a half hour. She looked at me and she was like, so it'll actually be an hour. And it turned out to be more than that. So
yeah,
that's okay. It's always a blast.
She probably ate dinner without you then.
That's true. It went, so I would if I were her.
There you go. But
thank you. As always, it's a pleasure. So
yeah, thank you so much for jumping on with me. It's been a blast. I'm looking forward to this season. I am so stoked to just run a train on all of you guys this year. So
there it is.
Yeah. Of course. So this is going to stay in my house next year and the year after that and the year after that. So that's the plan anyway. So, but all right. Well, thank you for joining me, and all of you guys, good luck this next week. All of you, I don't know. I'm going to win my $10 back. I'm keeping all that money. So
it starts this week. Last week just a warm up.
Yeah, it was no preseason. That was my preseason game. So this is when it actually starts. This is when I start killing all of you. And good luck this week, and I'll catch you guys later.